All right, well today we are working on the finishing touches on the K24 Cefiro build. This thing's about done, but we found some odds and ends we needed to take care of after taking it drifting, and some things that I just flat out forgot about or just, you know, didn't think about the fact that they weren't done. So we've got some things to do. Oh, gotta fix that. But more importantly, the main reason I'm making this video is I just want to take you guys for a street rip with it now that we've got the power turned up a good bit. It is significantly faster than it was when we did the street tuning. We're only on 8-9 pounds then, very soft, conservative timing, conservative fuel. You know, throughout the course of the drift event, Stu turned it up more and more. Now we're on about 16 pounds and some more timing, more intake cam timing. It is a whole different animal. It puts the street pulls we did to shame. I've only done a couple and I was like, man, I gotta show him. I gotta show him this. They'll be as hyped as I am because this is what I expected this car to feel like. But in typical Florida fashion, it is about to monsoon. So we need to hit the road and do this now before we start working on a dang thing. So let's get to it. Florida summer thunderstorms every day. Cool. Already seeing raindrops on the windshield. We'll definitely have to do another drive, but I wanted to get one in at least. Oh, it's raining. It's like straight up raining. The car is definitely not warmed up yet. That's fourth gear. It just spools up. Oh, now it's like raining. Dang it. I was so close to beating the rain. Drove it the other day. The weather was perfect. But you guys weren't here. You missed out. Second gear hit here. $3 grand, 3,500. Oh, I know it's raining, so like this is why I wanted to try to get out before it rained, but I street drove it. I was like, I'm curious what it's like, you know, a little more power than before. And I was like, oh my gosh. This thing is nuts now. We'll have to wait. I tried to get it in for you guys. Beginning of the video, so you didn't have to wait. I was too excited not to let you guys wait, but Florida weather had other plans. It looks like it'll clear up though. Well, I guess I gotta work before we can play. It's a shame. All right, so the first project I want to tackle, since I haven't got to do any fab work in a while, and I miss it, it's my favorite part of building cars, is building a battery mount. So we have literally worn into this thing. I don't know if you can see that, from it vibrating around. When the car is running, the battery just sits there and vibrates like everything else on this car, and it's vibrating against the intercooler pipe here. So that was just one of those things I completely forgot about before the first track day. It was on the list, I forgot about it. So we need to build just a nice, simple, not too over elaborate battery box mount. We don't have a lot of room to work with in here, as you can probably tell. So yeah, pull the battery out and just kind of build a mount around it. Alright, we've got some CAD, we've got the battery up here. I'm trying to decide on what the exact design is going to be. It's a tight area and it's kind of hard to get the battery in there because it kind of goes under the core support almost. So we can't have something that is too deep of containment because we can't drop it straight in. We need to kind of be able to put it in like this. But I also want something that locks in simply. I don't want to have to do a bunch of stuff to get the battery in and out. I think I'm just going to start drawing and cutting and making, and we'll come up with something. Alright, we're going to need to scale it just a little bigger. It's just going to be super tight if we bend it like this. We need a little bit of room, so I'll probably scale it 1/4 inch this way. But that gets us the gist. It's very similar to how I did the one I did for the LS Miata, but 2 pieces instead of 10. you know, bent instead of welded together. So let's transfer this to some aluminum, start making it. So now all we gotta do, well, we still gotta mount this thing, but we gotta build a strap. I put some rubber under this just to help keep the vibration down. So now we just need to mount it in the car. It's a little tight in there. I did end up notching this corner here because it's like the sheet metal kind of goes up right there. It seems like it's gonna fit, but I was gonna do 2 bolts, which is why I made this wide, but I was like, 1 bolt will work fine. It's pretty much held in there as is. This is just kind of a extra precaution to keep it from rattling. Just the tiniest bit of clearance. All right, well there she is. I'm happy with that for a quick project. Should keep the old girl from rattling around. So one more quick project before we go take her for a rip, because it hasn't rained. I'm really hoping that stays true. We need to redo this intercooler pipe. Not fully redo it, but we need to change it slightly. So this pipe fit great when I built it originally, but I ended up moving the engine up slightly to gain a little more clearance to the steering rack, and now this thing is just barely in there. That's the edge. So what happened at the track was it popped up like this. It's too short to go anywhere, but it popped out and we had a massive boost leak. So what I want to try to do is add another pie cut, kind of straightening it out, and that should tuck it nice and deep into this clamp, and we shouldn't have to worry about it. So we almost need to cut this, just have it angle the other way at the end here. All right, got this thing welded up. Man, I feel like it's been years since I've got to TIG weld anything. Yeah, it's probably been like a month, but it feels like an eternity. I was freaking TIG welding stuff every single day for a while there, and now I just haven't had anything. But we're starting a new project. Should be lots of TIG welding. Even if there's not that many projects, fab projects, I'll come up with some because I love fab work so much. I'm still so in love with this Fronius machine, dude. This thing is just, oh, it's so good. Speaking of, Fronius is actually doing a deal right now. If you get the machine, specifically the Magic Wave 230i, and any Bluetooth accessories like a pedal or a helmet, you get an instant $600 rebate. So that's pretty cool. So if you're interested in getting one of these, like, now's a good time. I think the deal goes through September, sometime in September. I just saw the email about it. Figured I'd pass that along. I'll put a link in the details down below for anyone who might be interested. But man, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, I would rate this machine. This thing has been excellent. But anyway, that's enough jibber jabbering. That should be about cooled down now. We can toss it back on the car and maybe we'll get a rip in before it rains again. I have been hearing some thunder though, so no guarantees. We do have a few more things to do, but I want to show you guys what this thing's like now because it is saucy. All right, let's try to put it back together. All right, so one more thing I need to do real quick is just flash a different tune in it. Stu sent me a tune with a little less duty cycle in the boost controller, so a little more boost. We were tuning the boost at the track, drifting in the wet, so not as much load as you would see in the dry in third gear doing a straight line pull, so it's a little bit saucy. It's like 16 pounds, maybe 17. I don't know. I didn't run it all the way out in third when I did do my pull, so we're gonna he turned it down just a little bit, just a smidgen. So we'll throw that in and then we'll go take this thing for a rip. Finally got a new laptop. Pretty stoked on it. This thing is sick. The battery life was the big thing that I struggled with my old laptop, and it was so big. This thing, dude, the battery life, I charge it like every couple days. It's crazy. All right. What is this? How do I do this? How do I keep doing this? Oh, come on, Taylor. Dude, it pulls hard. Well, but we do have some death wobble to address. I don't understand why we have the death wobbles. Like, I'm comparing it to my Miata, which makes just under 500 wheel. Sim weight's not that far off. This is 2760. The Miata's 25 even, basically. Stuff is new. I drove it the other day because I was like, I want to see what it's like now with more boost and timing and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, they've got to see this. All right, so the next problem to address here is the temp. The car runs super cool, but when you sit and there's not a lot of coolant flow, it starts reading hot. Now watch, I'll put the heater on, we'll start getting coolant flow in the top of the engine and the temps will drop. See, they're already starting. They'll just plummet. And the reason is because we have air trapped in the top of the system. So when the coolant's not flowing very quickly, the sensor is just reading steam. Steam is hotter than water. So all we're doing with that heater is getting water to flow past the sensor. You can see we're already down to 178. Now I can do the same thing by giving it some RPM and getting the coolant to flow faster, right? More or less. So I know for sure it's not that the car is running hot at idle, because you move at 1500, 2000 RPM going 5-10 miles an hour and it'll just plummet. You sit there and just rev it to 2000 RPM, it'll plummet. So that absolutely means there is air in the system. And I knew there was, because when I was bleeding the system, I had to pull that heater hose off and basically fill it until water came out. Now I didn't fill it until only water came out, so there's definitely still air trapped up there in the system. We need to get it out. So I've come up with like a setup to where we can bleed this anytime, and we should be able to bleed it 100%, get all the air out. It's gonna ugly up the engine bay a little bit, but you know, street car function. So for the heater core hose / overall cooling system bleeding, we have this contraption. Yeah, it's pretty large. I could have used brass, like NPT stuff, and it would have tightened this package up considerably, but it's ugly in brass. I'm hoping this will blend in some, but it is kind of massive. So I'm hoping this works. But basically we're gonna cut that heater hose. It's gonna come off this T to a 6AN. We're gonna run a 3/8 hose to a valve so we can close that valve. Ideally we'll run this long enough to where we can tuck the hose out of the way. It won't be too unsightly, but then we can pull it out, run it back in to our expansion tank, dunk it in there, and then we can just fill and bleed, and all of that air will come out with the water into the expansion tank. We won't be, you know, having to pour it on the ground and keep adding and adding. So yeah, we're just gonna give it a shot here. Alright, well that doesn't look nearly as awful as I thought it might. It's real, I mean, yeah, the actual vent is noticeable, the rest of it's not. The T and the 45s, like you don't even notice that they're there. It actually tucks that heater hose line lower than it was before. But you do see that because we had to use that reducer. Probably gonna put like a 6-inch line on the other side of that, and we should be able to dunk that right into the expansion tank, fill it, bleed it. Bubbles coming out. We're still waiting for it to get to thermostat temp. It takes a while for this thing to warm up. Alright, so normally I'd have to turn the heater on or rev it sitting here idling once it got to fan on temp for it to cool down to fan off temp, which is 170. But it got to fan on temp, went up to like 181, 182, and has been cooling down to 170 now. So I think we've got all the air out of the system. Just making sure we did a thorough bleed so I don't have to deal with it anymore. I just want it to go all the way down to fan off temp, but I think we're good. It wouldn't do this before. Once you got it up to fan on temp, it wouldn't cool down idling. It would cool down driving, RPM, heater on, any of those things, but it wouldn't cool down idling. So I think it's safe to say we fixed it. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing on a test drive so we can see if the cooling system issue is fixed, and if it cools down to fan on temp, goes back up. It should cycle between 170 and 180. If the cooling system is efficient enough to keep the engine cool, which it definitely is. Definitely should be. So I just want to make sure that's all sorted, and really I just want to do some more pulls in it. So we're going to go visit Raldo and Josue, take them for a ride in it. Geraldo's never been in it. Josue hasn't been in it since it was only running to 5,000 RPM. So I'm excited to see his reaction now that it not only pulls past 5 grand, but makes some sauce. Oh, also, geez, I almost forgot. I'm so bad at this. Enough Jibber Jabber shirts. Finally, this has been a long requested merch item, and we have them in their pocket tees. So wearing the old school, the OG garage built tees, they are pocket tees, and once you get used to wearing a pocket tee, it's hard to go back. So I made these in pocket tee, and then we also have a garage built tee. It's a little different than the old design, but it's a pocket tee as well. So those are up on the site. We have a good bit of them in stock, so if you want one, they should definitely be your size in stock. Check it out, the link below, garagebuiltco.com. I'm super excited to finally get these out. I'll show you the back. Can you see the back? Here, hold on, put you over here. Can you see it? Can you see it? So, all right, let's hit the road. And spin the tires that time. It's only 13 pounds. She's pretty rowdy, dude. I mean, that's with 3 people in the car.
That feels really good. Oh yeah, and that's on what?
12, 13.
It's probably at what, 350?
I don't know. Yeah, it might be closer to 400. Well, what do you know? Rained again. It started drizzling right before we did the pull. I was like, this has been my life. Every time I try to do a pull in this car, it starts drizzling. I just gotta get rid of the vibration in this car, and it'll be an amazing street car. Loose, and that might be why we're having the death wobbles. Everything in the suspension is new, so. All right, everything looks good. Flywheel seems tight. I've spun the engine over. It's not, wobbling any. It seems flush all the way around. Bolts all look good. Drive shaft bolts are good. Everything seems okay. For the death wobble, my steering rack was loose, this one bracket. But otherwise, I'm not seeing anything under here. Everything seems good. I'll put my cover that I made back on, and we'll go drive it again. All right, I actually left the transmission cover plate off just to see if that could be part of our down rev rattle. Like when you're in gear and the car's revving down, it has a gnarly rattle. system's definitely solid now. We leaned on her quite a bit, and when I parked it, we were at 184, and granted it's been a couple minutes, but it's steadily cooling down. It's just important to me that it's able to cool down like between runs at the track. You know, if it's like creeping up while we're sitting there idling, that's going to be a problem at the track, because you're going to beat on it, drift it, and then be sitting in line. If it's getting hotter while you're sitting, that's not good. So, yep, steadily going down. Oh, it just clicked 178, but then went off. 178, all right, I'm good with that. I'm going to try to get a black 10AN cap and pull that line off and cap that. And then I'll just hold on to the line if I need to bleed it again. But if this was gone, it wouldn't look that bad. You wouldn't even hardly notice it back there. So overall, really happy with it. There are a few things left to do. I keep thinking we're done with this car in a sad way. Like, what am I gonna do with my life now? We have other projects to start on, but it's weird when you've worked on a car for, you know, 6-8 months, almost a year really. All of a sudden it's like done. You're like, what do I think about? But anyway, I need to pull the wiring harness out and loom it. I want to get this thing on the dyno, you know, dial it in the rest of the way on the dyno, see what it's making, make sure we keep it soft down low so we don't make too much low end torque. That's really hard on the rods on these engines since this is a stock bottom end. I've got my flex fuel setup sensor in there. I've got enough pump and injectors for E85 with my Detroit stuff. So I might try to tune it on E as well, you know, and just let the flex fuel do its thing. That way, you know, if we go to the track and we want to spice it up, we can just dump some E in it. I mean, I always have E because of the LS Miata. So anyway, I'm jibber jabbering on here. A few more things left to do, a few little tidbits. I need to get the drive-by-wire cruise control working. I'm working on finding a good switch for that to get that all wired in, and some other odds and ends as far as V1 goes, and mainly just enjoy the dang thing some more. I'm trying to get to the track ASAP and drive this some more. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. That was a lot of jibber jabbering and blubber blabbering. Don't forget to check out the jibber jabber shirts on garagebuildco.com. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later.